All right, guys, this will serve as the program overview for week 5 of our summer block. This will be for June 23rd. All right, we're going to open up with the front squats as we've been building on these. ×2 on a 3 minutes for 5 sets. Our tempo is going to change. 2 seconds down, 5 seconds at the bottom, and up. Okay, we're really pushing that range of motion and that time under tension with these pauses. Without giving you guys an exact rep range, this could end up being anywhere, north of, 87 to 90%, maybe a little more, but I mean, it's going to be hard. All right, so as we're looking at this, guys, again, focus on that control down to the bottom, nice and smooth. Boom, nice strong pause, having the hips forward and the chest up, and then as soon as you drive up, keeping the knees forward, keeping the chest up, let yourself rise that way. So this is your hips, this is your shoulders. We're standing straight, we come down into the squat, and we need to go up in that same direction. Okay, what we don't want to see is the hips rising and then doing one of these worms. So you come down, keeping the knees forward, boom, nice strong pause, and then drive up, straight up. Think about the hips going straight down in the squat and straight up, and keeping your chest in tall while your back is engaged. Okay, so should be good. After that, we are going to be doing some more strength building here. We have 5 unbroken thrusters, which, you just want to stay at the same weight. Not really going to put anything on it, but, this is the time for you to kind of use a heavier weight than you normally would. It's only 35 total reps. And then after that, 3 to 7 strict pull-ups, okay, or, doing a negative pull-up is fine, but we are going to work on building our strength today. Everybody goes, hey, can I do bands, whatever. If you're always doing a band and you still are on a band and you never got any stronger using a band, band's probably not going to get you there. So negatives, or even having the bar lowered down onto a barbell into almost like an inverted row, but yet a little more horizontal or a little more vertical, that's important just to get that pulling up there. But really doing true negatives where you're up there as high as you can, hard as you can, and then just coming down nice and smooth all the way through the range of motion is very effective. But again, it's one of those things you must really push that time under tension and control. All right, but again, this is a good workout, guys. Regardless, if you guys whatever you end up doing, just like think about this as being more of a strength workout, where we're being very deliberate. We're really trying to push things in a controlled manner on the thruster, getting a little bit heavier, working on timing, improving our barbell cycling in that movement, while then pushing those strict pull-ups. All right, after that, we have on Tuesday, 15 minutes is kind of our time domain we're looking for here. 3 rounds for time, 500-meter row, 15 deadlifts, 30 push-ups, and then a 500-meter row, 12 deadlifts, 24 push-ups, 500-meter row, 9 deadlifts, 18 push-ups. Okay, so descending reps on the deadlifts and push-ups. We've got 36 reps on the docket for the deadlifts, and double that for the push-ups. So it's a decent amount of volume on both. I wouldn't say high volume on the deadlift, but probably say moderate volume on both of those lifts. The 275, 185 RX Plus, I believe if deadlift is something you're really strong at and you feel really good about, as far as you've never had any issues pulling off the floor, your back's always felt really good, this would be a good day to really kind of challenge yourself to a heavier weight. The row is going to be a very consistent push here. No one's really going to win on the rower, but you definitely could lose by coming out too hot. So you want to push a nice consistent pace on the row that allows you to still pull, because you are going to be having that fatigue pairing of rowing going into the deadlift. So, row, I'd start out a little stronger on the row and then kind of ease back the last, 200 to 250 meters, just kind of ease back on the halfway mark. Just get my breathing under control, then bam, get set up for the deadlift, make sure that we're bracing, setting up for each of those reps, and move steady. I think this would be a good one. It's a good CrossFit workout, okay, for you guys that are really diehards. Important on the push-up is to really think about the range of motion here. Chest to deck, elbows locked out, making sure that we're pushing the range of motion. All right, on Wednesday, I guess everybody's doing yard work. Sorry, it's a little noisy out here. But on Wednesday, we are going to go on the 75 seconds for 8 sets. Push press and push jerks, 2 and 2. All right, again, working on that movement. That's for the fitness. For the performance, we're going to go push, press, split jerk, 1 plus 2. Getting skill practice, working on the range of motion, working on getting our footwork down, working on a strong lockout. This being, several weeks in now of working this movement. Again, just focus on doing it really well, getting consistency. We are going to eventually build to a clean and jerk at some point, so just kind of keep that in mind. That is why we're working on this. Now, after this, got a pretty cool chipper. 18 hang power cleans, 400 meter run, 18 shoulder overhead, 400 meter run, 12, 400 meter run, 12. So we got three 400s, paired with those hang power cleans and the shoulder overhead. Again, nice consistent mover here today. When we're looking at this, how to break it up. I think that the power clean weight should be something that you could do in 3 sets. And I'd probably say the same thing for the shoulder to overhead, maybe 3 or 4 sets on this first 18, even breaking it up strategically, and then really trying to have a chance to push for maybe 2 to 3 sets on the back half of this. Okay, so pick a weight that's challenging, but you can move really well. All right, and then you're going to push those runs as the recovery for this workout. But should be an overall really good day. To see where everybody gets. I think a good target here is going to be sub 9 minutes. Scaling to be 13 minutes or maybe even 15 minutes because we are going to be a little fatigued from the prior, split jerk work. But hopefully we're smart and just kind of use that more as a skill work, and then able to push this Metcon a little bit more. All right, on Thursday, we got basically Annie plus rowing. So we're going to be doing 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, cow row, and ab mat sit-ups and double unders. Looking at that top target of 14 minutes, scaling to be 20 minutes. Again, just a nice consistent mover. If you have double unders, but maybe that is a lot of reps, cutting those reps in half would be good. Completing 75 total reps in that day, or even in a third where you're going to complete 50 for the day. But, just have a plan going in for those dubs. When it comes to ab mat sit-ups, shoulder blades to the ground, we're sitting up all the way, touching the ground in front of us. We should see that our back angle actually passes 90 as we sit up. That's what we're going to be looking for. Now, after that, we are going to do a little accessory work. Not for time here, 100 foot per side. So you do a single arm farmer's carry for 100 feet, switch sides, push the weight where you're not leaning, but you can kind of stay, you can stay your shoulders, basically level. And then we've got 10 to 12 ring rows. Again, you can push that by pushing the feet further forward or even elevating your feet to make that more challenging. But that is what we're going to be looking at, doing a little shoulder stability and back work to finish out the day. All right. On Friday, we're going to open up with a 16-minute AMRAP, 12 box jump overs. So we're going to be going over the box and down, 8 alternating dumbbell power snatches, and then 4 handstand push-ups, strict handstand push-ups as the RX Plus. For the fitness, I don't know why it says this, but we should say pike push-ups. I'm going to do a pike push-up. We'll do a pike push-up, and then we're just going to change the weight on the other 2 movements. Again, after we finish this, we're going to do the same thing we did, in week 1, which is going into the bench press as our accessory work, 8, 8, 8, 8. So again, you're going to complete those straight arm lat pushbacks. As we're pushing back, we're just really going to engage in the lats, getting that lat flare, working on stability of the lats while we're benching, and combining those 2. Just make those 8s all working sets. That's really what we're looking for. You can look back, and this is why it's so important to be logging what you do, is you can look back and see what you did for 4 or 6 or 8 or whatever reps you did before, and then you can kind of guess what you should be starting at. Now, we are going to have a little pre-fatigue going from the handstand push-ups, so maybe drop it by 3 to 5% of what your expectation is, and then go from there. All right, on Saturday, continuing working into that snatch complex of snatch pull from a pause at the knee plus a low hang snatch. So we have 2 snatch pulls. We're pausing at the knee, finishing up top, just ingraining that movement off the floor, getting the knees back, getting set with the strong back position, being able to keep that bar close into that power position as we go to extension, and then we're taking it back down below the knee, and then we're going to go bang, snatch, okay? So we can power snatch that, hang snatch that, etc. Now, for the fitness, if we still have to go high hang, that's what we're going to do, but we are going to try to progress to a hang. So we're going to look at that vertical shin, bar at the knee or right above the knee for 2, either, for powers, and then going into the 2 overhead squats, emphasizing the range of motion on the overhead squat overload. As always, just working on trying to perfect this and improve our range of motion. Now, after that, we have a 10-minute AMRAP in team to 2. You go, I go for a full round, 5 overhead squats, 95, 65, or just scale to a weight that you're comfortable with, hitting the right range of motion. That's really super important. If it's an empty barbell or super light barbell, don't drop the barbell unless it's an emergency. Set the bar down. Control your bars, especially in the large class. classes right into the 5 kettlebell swings and then 5 toes to bar. Okay, so you go through a round, I go through a round. Maybe getting 5 to 6, 7 rounds a piece is what we're looking for. For the fitness, we are removing the overhead squat since we already had some exposure to it. There's no sense in doing it. You can go front squats here, or if you wanted to, I would say a PVC pipe overhead squat. To emphasize that, just coming off of that, you've already challenged that. There's no reason to do this under duress, especially if you're super new to the movement and it's something you're not super comfortable with. Then it would be more important for you to just either change, say, hey, I did this in a very controlled setting in the first part. Now I'm going to push intensity with something I can move very easy, like a front squat or even a goblet squat or a PVC pipe overhead squat. But anyway, guys, as always, that's all we have for the week 5 overview. As always, if you have any questions, let us know. And if not, we'll see you in the gym.